To the South China Sea now, where today the first pictures were released of joint military drills between the United States, the Philippines, Australia and Japan in the disputed territory.
China asserts there has never been any problem with freedom of navigation in the South China Sea.
The leaders of Japan and the Philippines are in the U.S. this week for meetings on strengthening trilateral ties in the face of increased tensions with China.
The vast expanse of the South China Sea, teeming with maritime traffic and untapped resources, has become a theater of great power rivalry. The Philippines' territorial stand against China's relentless expansionism encapsulates the danger of this geopolitical contest, one that could have wide-reaching consequences and risks sparking a disastrous conflict.
I am horrified by the idea that we have compromised through a secret agreement the territory, the sovereignty, and the sovereign rights of the Philippines.
Tensions in the South China Sea are rooted in centuries of shifting power dynamics. China's new 10-line claim asserts historical rights over nearly the entire region. Yet these claims clash with those of the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and others, not to mention established principles of international maritime law. This conflict gained new urgency in 2012 when, despite long-standing Philippine control, China seized the Scarborough Shoal. The Philippines took China to international arbitration, and in 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague resoundingly rejected China's sweeping claims. Beijing, however, dismissed the ruling. Instead, it has intensified its militarization of the region, transforming reefs and atolls into artificial islands bristling with military infrastructure. The motivations behind China's actions are multifaceted. Control over the South China Sea would bolster its naval power projection, securing vital trade routes and potentially vast undersea energy reserves. However, it also signifies the ambition of a rising superpower intent on displacing the existing regional order. Countries like the Philippines bear the brunt of China's tactics. Chinese Coast Guard vessels routinely harass Filipino fishing boats, even within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, EEZ. Inflammatory rhetoric from Chinese state-linked commentators paints a grim picture, with some even invoking the specter of World War. However, China's actions have sparked a regional backlash. Vietnam has invested heavily in modernizing its Navy and Coast Guard. Indonesia, though not a direct claimant, sees China's behavior as a threat to stability. The Philippines, reassured by a long-standing defense treaty with the U.S., has been revitalizing its armed forces. The U.S. role in this evolving dynamic remains a crucial question. Successive American administrations have reaffirmed commitments to freedom of navigation and respect for international law in the South China Sea.
Together, our countries are taking significant steps to strengthen defense security cooperation. We're modernizing command and control structures, and we're increasing the interoperability and planning of our militaries so they can work together in a seamless and effective way.
However, some analysts argue China is deliberately testing the limits of American resolve. Would Washington genuinely risk direct confrontation to defend the Philippines, or does the war in Ukraine signal a shift towards strategic retrenchment?
All of the nations in the region have the right to operate and gain the resources that are allowed to them inside of their exclusive economic zone. The Philippines are no different. And these actions are dangerous, illegal, and they are destabilizing the region.
Meanwhile, the U.S. has rallied allies like Japan and Australia in large-scale naval exercises designed to deter Chinese aggression. These are essential displays of collective will, but also underscore the ever-present risk of an unintended incident escalating tensions to catastrophic levels. China's island-building activities have caused significant ecological damage. The construction has destroyed coral reefs, vital breeding grounds for marine life, and disrupted delicate ecosystems. The increased militarization also raises concerns about potential pollution from military vessels and accidents. The unresolved Taiwan question adds another layer of complexity. An attempt by China to forcibly unify with Taiwan could begin with a move to dominate the South China Sea, potentially severing vital shipping lanes and isolating Taiwan. This scenario further underscores the urgency of finding a peaceful resolution to the South China Sea dispute.
If war breaks out in the Taiwan Strait, there's a possibility it will trigger World War III.
While the South China Sea dispute carries the risk of a wider conflict, a full-blown World War III is unlikely at this stage. Here's why. Nuclear deterrence. The presence of nuclear weapons on both sides, China and the US, makes a large-scale war between them extremely risky. Economic interdependence. Both China and the US are deeply intertwined economically. A full-blown war would devastate both economies and the global economy as a whole.
I don't think it can really stop the rise of China. I mean, China is a big economy.
Well, the climate obviously has been very difficult because we're here in Hong Kong, which is at the doorstep of China, and a lot of our business is dependent upon the US-China relationship. So the last couple of years has been pretty turbulent, mainly because of the uncertainty around what's happening next and how quickly things have changed.
International pressure. The international community has a strong interest in maintaining stability in the region and would likely exert significant pressure to de-escalate any crisis. However, an accidental military clash or miscalculation, similar to the assassination that sparked World War I in Sarajevo, could trigger a wider conflict. This risk highlights the importance of clear communication channels, crisis management protocols, and responsible behavior by all parties involved. The South China Sea crisis remains unresolved, driven by an assertive China, emboldened smaller regional powers, and a global superpower whose commitment is under scrutiny. Whether through diplomacy, shows of force, or a combination of both, de-escalation is vital. Failing that, the islands and contested waters of the South China Sea may well become the crucible for a conflict that shakes the geopolitical order and devastates the region.